Hello and a very warm welcome to my channel. Richard Tang, CEO of Zen Internet, here today with Philippa Bailey, who is the Managing Director of Blizzard Group.
Hi.
Philippa.
Thanks for having me.
Very warm welcome to Zen. First of all, a huge thank you for being a Zen partner for just over 14 years, since July 2011.
Yeah, I hadn't realised it had actually been so long. Yeah, it's been great.
So let's start off. Tell me a little bit about Blizzard, the business.
Yeah. Okay, so Blizzard Group, we have the telecom side and the utilities side. So we've got that extra little je ne sais quoi compared to some of the other telecoms companies. And our whole business model is that we sell through partners. So we have a network of resellers and dealers across the country, and we enable them to get access to these services with all the backing that we provide, so that they can just focus on selling, and then we do the billing, the provisioning, the customer service, collections, and the credit control, all of that side of things, and it's a true partnership with them. So that's our whole business model. We also do a lot of sales support as well, and we work hard with them to help kind of create campaigns and help them get the message out and help them grow their businesses and get more sales. And then, the utility side as well. We do energy brokerage and a lot more around that, and then sort of the sustainability side too. So we've got lots going on. Yeah,
and it sounds like you're white labeling the billing then, because I understand your partners own the customer, but actually you're doing all the billing on their behalf.
Yeah, so there's two ways that people can partner with Blizzard. So everyone uses their own terminology. Our terminology at Blizzard is resellers and dealers. Yeah. And so the resellers is that white label thing. So we bill in their name. The contract with the customer is with their company name. So exactly what you've described. But it is a 50-50 partnership in terms of sort of ownership at the end of the day. And then there's dealers who are selling Blizzard contracts, and it's on Blizzard paperwork. So we've got a mixture of the two approaches.
So with the dealers, then you've got the direct relationship with the end customer.
They still, they kind of act as an agent, so they're the ones really that have that personal relationship, it's wherever they may be based in the country, they'll have their customer base usually locally in their area, and they go and see the customers and go in and help them sort out their wiring and all sorts of things, so they've got that really important aspect that Blizzard wouldn't otherwise be able to do for those customers. But we do everything else, and it is Blizzard is, the name on the tin for that one.
Yeah. So Zen's big ambition that we announced a while back was to become the UK's Alt-Net aggregator of choice in the channel, and be really interested to hear your experience of that so far and what benefits that you see from the strategy.
It's brilliant. It's really good. I've been excited from day one, really. The big launch, we went to in London.
We did. Thank you, City Fibre.
yeah, absolutely. That was great. And I've not been able to kind of stop talking about what a good idea it is. It's obviously somebody needs to do it, and we're really pleased that it's Zen, who we've been working with for so long, we've got such a good strong relationship with, we know how you work and you're a pleasure to work with, that have gone and done this, because we were getting to the stage where we were having to think, right, we're going to have to start working with at least some of these bigger ones. We don't want to be left out. We want to be able to access those footprints as well. But it's hard work introducing multiple different suppliers into the business. It's hard work for provisioning. They've got, different portals, different ways of working, different account managers, different billing files coming in from different suppliers. There's only so many suppliers you can really take on without putting a lot of pressure on the team to cope with that. So realistically, we weren't going to be going and signing up with all these different ones. So it's fantastic that Zen have done that for us. You're putting in all the hard work. making sense of all of that, and then we just get to do it through Zen. And originally I thought, well, there'll probably be a commercial penalty to that, but there's not either. It's still really competitive pricing through Zen with these alt-nets. So it's fantastic, and it's such a sales opportunity. This is the thing. It's not just a good idea and helpful, but actually, the alt-net fibre rollout is just such a fantastic message that we're giving to our partners. There is a window of opportunity. At some point in the future, fibre will be fully rolled out, barring maybe some really extreme rural areas or something. But this window will come to an end at some point. So we want to help our partners to make the most of it, to get out there, to claim that business, as it's happening, and get there before anybody else does. So all guns blazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an interesting point about the commercials, because we have found that even some partners that have a direct relationship with some of the alt-nets, they can actually get better pricing from Zen.
Yeah.
And from a combination of our volume, but also often the fact that we're interconnecting locally with the alt-net rather than nationally, and there's a price differential there.
Okay.
So Blizzard, my understanding is you're all B2B. Is that?
Yeah, 100% B2B.
So it's all it's all B2B.
All businesses,
customers. And I'd be interested in your thoughts about, you mentioned this window of opportunity. Yeah. You've got these businesses that have been, I guess, putting up with copper broadband for however long.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they've got fibre. There's this window of opportunity to win that business. And I guess I'd be just really interested to hear your own anecdotes and maybe feedback from your partner channel about what are the best ways of engaging with those businesses and getting them over to full fibre, winning that business and winning that customer.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any sort of magic tips or tricks, I'm afraid. I don't have that. Yeah. I don't have the magic words to say, but it is just having those conversations, because the message speaks for itself. It does sell itself, and it is a salesperson's dream. We're running campaigns to help generate leads for our partners. We're working with our partners on telemarketing campaigns backed up with emails and all of that. But so often, if it weren't for this, having a strong message that you can actually put out there in a cold way to brand new businesses you've never spoken to before, it's a little bit difficult. You can wax lyrical about your hosted system and good reliable connectivity at a good price or whatever, but everybody else is saying that as well and has been for a while. So it's always the challenge, as everybody I'm sure in the industry finds, to come up with a hook, something that the customer's actually going to sit up and go, oh really? And this is it. You didn't have fibre before. You had slow speeds before. It's ideally you have the conversation literally as it's kind of rolling out. It's being put in, or it's about to, or it only just has been put in your area. We know this information and we're imparting this to you, and let's get you on it. These are the kind of speeds you can enjoy, and this is the benefit that it'll bring to your business. And then obviously not every conversation ends up in a sale, but it's a strong sales conversation.
Yeah, one thing that we find as well as the speed is the reliability.
Yeah.
So Openreach's stats, they see a third of the faults on full fibre compared with the copper network.
Right, yeah.
And obviously for businesses that are relying on that connectivity to take payments, for example, they need that connectivity.
There you go. You're giving me the tips now, so I'm going to build that into our
there you go. Reliability, definitely
a
factor. And let's talk about the energy business, because that's something that I know a fair bit about, the telecoms business and the internet. I don't know very much at all about energy, but I am very interested in it. So you've been selling energy for a long time.
Yes, yeah.
What is that? Is that an easy business, a difficult business? What does that look like?
It's been a mixed business over the years. So we do energy brokerage. So we help our business customers to identify which supplier and what kind of tariff would be best for them. And to give them advice based on what's happening in the market, in the wholesale market. And the business wholesale market is much more volatile than the residential market. So in the residential market, you've got the price cap that the government put in place to have some control over it. That doesn't exist in the business market. So obviously all the turmoil that's happened over the last few years, there was change in behaviour in China, which caused a real spike in the cost of natural gas, which affects electricity. And then there was obviously the invasion of Ukraine, which just sent the prices skyrocketing. So all of that turmoil really, really affects businesses. Everyone's heard it in the news. Some businesses, especially hospitality, have just had to semi-close down because they literally can't afford the electricity bill. But so we do everything we can to advise customers on what's happening in the market, when would be a good time to go to market to secure that contract, how long they should sign it for, and get them the very best price available. We obviously get access to broker prices. So similar in a way with Zen and the Alt-Nets in that people can get cheaper prices through Blizzard than they could if they went direct to the suppliers. So that's what we've been doing for sort of 16 years or so, and I'd like to think we've been doing it really well. But what we have been developing on the energy side within the last couple of years really is where we see the future of that business going, which is that it needs to be much more about sustainability. So we're wrapping it around with lots of complementary services. Traditionally, an energy broker secretly would actually want the customer to use more energy because you would earn more money out of it. But that's completely wrong. It's not what we want, to be the motivation or the focus. So what we're doing is looking at ways that we can help our customers to reduce their energy usage with various things. So one of our kind of headline pieces that we're really excited to roll out is solar as a service. So solar panels, everyone knows about solar panels, they're fantastic. They're very expensive to buy and install. You have to have quite a bit of cash or get a finance arrangement for a business to be able to put them in place. If you can afford that, then that's fantastic, and we can facilitate that for our customers as well. But this solar as a service is basically where the solar provider always owns the solar panels. So they install and maintain the solar panels on the roof of one of our customers completely for free. So the customer doesn't have to pay a penny ever. And they just sign up to an agreement with the provider whereby they buy the electricity that's generated from the solar panels. But the fantastic thing about that is that normal grid prices for electricity, at the moment, they're around 25 pence per kilowatt hour. But on this solar as a service agreement, they fix the price and it's typically around 13 to 15 pence per kilowatt hour. So there's a massive, massive saving on electricity spend, and it's secured, so they don't have to worry about all the ups and downs of the wholesale market. And they're getting to have 100% renewable energy from something on their roof without spending a penny. Wow. So we're really excited about that. So that's what we're pushing out. And then we do help facilitate EV charger installations, all sorts of ways of scoping out carbon footprint and making suggestions on different ways to reduce it. So that's where that's all going, and we're loving it.
Yeah, fantastic. Look, that solar as a service, it sounds like too good to be true. So if you're a business, you've got a bit of roof space, completely free, someone's going to install solar panels on your roof, and your electricity nearly halves.
Yeah.
Almost sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, okay. It's like actually having to almost persuade customers that it's not a scam, that it is it is real.
And it's not a scam, is it? It's real.
No, absolutely not, I promise.
It's real. So look, if you're a business and you've got some roof space.
Yeah. It needs to be a decent sized roof space. Just to clarify.
Let's have some caveats.
Yeah. So not a small cafe, not a small hairdressers or something like that, not your kind of small retail spaces. It needs to be a little bit bigger than that, but not huge. So, we're talking a small manufacturing site or a large a large pub restaurant or even a small hotel. So that kind of medium-sized roof space, So it's still SMEs, but not the smallest of the small,
Is there a minimum in terms of the number of panels that they'll put on then, or?
Not specifically in panels, but the roof space needs to be 200 square meters. Basically, that's your.
Right.
That's that.
So I'll start again. If you've got a roof space of at least 200 square meters,
yes,
then and you want free solar panels and half price electricity, then go to your website, which is
blizzardforbusiness.com.
There you go. Yeah, excellent. Let's move on. One thing that struck me about Blizzard that was very interesting as well was that you're employee owned. So
yes. Yeah.
We're really interested to hear about that journey.
Yeah, I'd love to. So, 2019, we became employee owned. The founding directors, Mark Jones and Martin Turner, they built Blizzard up from scratch from 2008. And they wanted to think about what their exit would look like at some point. And there's this fantastic method that the government kind of introduced in 2014, which enables founding directors to make an exit, but without just having to sell out to, the bigger boys and change everything about Blizzard, and potentially people would lose their jobs and that sort of thing, It's win-win because there's a bit of a tax advantage, from doing that, because the government are incentivizing people to do that. So everybody kind of wins out of it. But basically, the employees as a group are now the 75% shareholder. In our case, it can be different levels of shareholding, but we're the majority shareholder, and that's held in the trust called an employee-owned trust. And there's trustees that oversee that. But basically, that's on behalf of the beneficiaries of that trust, who are all the employees. If you leave, then you leave, and you're no longer a beneficiary of the trust. But as long as you stay at Blizzard, then you are, and you're part of the majority shareholding. And that's at that point, that's when I took over as well as MD. So the guys have stepped back. They're still around for kind of mentorship, which is fantastic. It's really great to call on their many, many years of experience, both in telecoms, but also in just general kind of business strategy. They've got a wealth of experience there. So it's kind of best of both worlds as well. We've got them to call on. But I get to take this forward in the way that, I want to go about it. And what's been important to me for the staff is getting them really involved in the business. So one of the first things I did is communication. We're going to make sure that all the staff know what's going on in this business, good, bad, and the ugly, so that they know why we're making certain decisions. There's open discussion about it as well. People can say anything, raise any concerns or queries, ask questions. I want them to feel invested in it because they genuinely are. So, I want to just encourage that mindset around it. And even things like, spending on nice to haves, employee benefits or nice things for the office and that sort of thing. It all helps that genuine conversation where you're saying we could spend here, but then there's a little bit less on the bottom line. So there'll be a little bit less in your pocket when we distribute the profits. So what shall we do? And that's they're much more directly tied into that decision making. So that's been fab. And obviously just the financial benefit for everybody. We get it without having to put a penny in. It's we're kind of loaned it from the founders. This is how this structure works. There's no secret about it. And we've been gradually paying them off out of the profits of the business. So nobody's had to come up with their own money to invest in it. But once it's all fully paid off, then that's it. We do own it, and we get the benefit of that on an annual basis when out of the profits that we make. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. It's what Julian Richer did with Richer Sounds.
Yes. Yeah, Richer Sounds. Yeah, that's right.
Employee ownership trust.
Yes, yeah.
Model. And
there's around, I think it's the EOA will probably correct me here, but it's around 900, I think, employee-owned businesses in the country now. Yeah. And it is growing every year. John Lewis were the original, that's not through the EOT, the trust, in the same way, because theirs was done absolutely eons ago, but it's still that basic model, so they're the one that most people have known of. But yeah, it's really growing in popularity because it really suits founders who want some kind of exit, keeps everything the same. And it's I think it's a good thing for society. You've got staff who are genuinely rewarded and invested in the company that they're working for.
Yeah, I mean, I did look at it as a possibility for Zen, actually. I talked to some advisors, and one of the things that's really appealing is that engagement that you get, that everyone in the business feels like, I own a part of this business, I suppose. So that is really appealing. I think there's a tax-free benefit that you mentioned as well in terms of paying out bonuses. But I'd be really interested to hear to what extent you've seen that in action. You've talked about it a bit, but comparing Blizzard before this happened and then after it, I mean, have you seen a change?
Yes, I think we've gone through a lot of change culturally. I think that's just inevitable compared to, and Mark and Martin ran the business fantastically, and we wouldn't have anything, if it weren't for them. Of course, it was just theirs and they could just do what they liked with it, and they didn't need to consult anybody or tell anybody, and so it was everyone just working for Mark and Martin, really. So I'd like to think, you'd have to ask my staff to see what they really think, but I'd like to think there's a real sense of this being all of our business, and I think that just seeps through in everything that we do, and hopefully the partners that we work with feel that as well, that when they're talking to us on the phone and we're helping them out with something, that everybody really wants to do a good job. So you're not going to get anybody that's like, I can't be bothered with this, I hate my job, I just want to go home. Everyone wants to do a good job because we all benefit out of the business doing well at the end of the day. Although I don't think Zen would have a problem with that anyway, because you've got a great culture as it is.
Yeah. It's I think we have got a culture that I'm really happy with.
Yeah. And I see that. I really do see that.
Thank you. Yeah. I guess one thing that has occupied my mind for many, many years is how do I set up the structure that really and truly is for people in the environment, our purpose, and do right for people and planet. How do you make that real even after I'm gone? How is it real? And so So I've got a structure at the moment, but I'm always looking into alternatives.
Yeah, that's the best,
My next question, so you're setting an absolutely brilliant example of a woman in technology and telecoms leading a successful technology and telecoms business and energy business. It would be just interesting to hear your sort of personal feelings about, I guess, your journey and to what extent it's been a thing.
It's not... there's so many things that could say about this. One thing I'd say is that I personally have never particularly suffered. Of everyone that I've worked with is fab. And it's not been a huge thing for me personally. But when we do look at the industry, the thing that really does strike me is that when you get into rooms of higher and higher management levels, when I'm at events that are CEOs and MDs, etc., that is vast majority male, and there's a sprinkling of women in the room. So I guess, I ask myself why, actually. I think it's really important that we don't just try and force more women into that space artificially. We don't want to be doing box ticking for the sake of it. But obviously women are entirely as capable as men, so what is the reason, and I've not necessarily done enough research or thinking about this to have the answers to that question yet. But I think if we want to do anything about it, that's what needs to be looked at actually at the core. What is the reason, rather than just forcing more women into the space? Whether it's that, it might go all the way back to school. What's girls, not going into that tech space? Why is it that they're genuinely not interested in tech, or is it how it's spoken about in school? Is there underlying social kind of biases, so it probably has to go all the way back there, really. And then, of course, just general behaviour. Like I've said, I've not experienced anything particularly bad, but I know it does exist, and it's probably just more insipid anyway, with attitudes to, maybe a group of men just not necessarily taking a woman leader in tech so seriously. It might not be overt, it might not be obvious, but maybe they talk to them a little bit differently or talk over them more often, that sort of thing. So I think everybody just needs to reflect and inspect, what's going on here, and we just need to make sure that there aren't any unfair barriers to anybody, whether that's women or anybody else that might be a minority in the industry. But it gets talked about so much now that I think there is a lot of reflection. So hopefully, that stuff will get better and better.
Yeah. I think it is getting better. It's certainly more out in the open now, and it's being discussed. So good. My last question. So you've been a partner of Zen's now for over 14 years.
Yeah.
What is it that you like about working with us? And if you could put your finger on one thing that we could do better, what would it be?
Okay. Yes. Well, the reason we work with Zen and have done for so long, there's the obvious just business reasons, commercials are good, service is good, reliable, why choose something that, why fix something that isn't broken? But also the extra bit that Zen bring is that you're an absolute pleasure to work with. I speak to my team who actually, I don't actually get involved on a daily basis particularly, but I speak to the team who do, who are always working with your team, whether that's, account management or operations guys. And you do stand out actually, I don't want to upset anybody else, but you do stand out as one of the easy ones to work with. And it's just the dream, isn't it? You're trying to get stuff done, and then the other side are helping you get stuff done in an easy and manageable way. So you've always stood out as one of our kind of favourite suppliers. And so, to be honest with you, I'd have to ask my team if they've got any complaints, but I'm not aware of any actual complaints. So I can't really give you a good answer to that, I'm afraid, in terms of what I'd want you to change. And what you are doing, obviously, I suppose, if anything in the past, it would have been, well, is there anything more you can offer to us, but wow, are you doing it? Aggregating all of these alt-nets and supporting us. We're going to be working with you to make this happen. It's fantastic. You've got this big message now and this big purpose, and we're really keen to be a part of it with you. So it's not much more I could ask for.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I believe you've got a couple of questions for me.
Yes, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
So I'm just curious to understand what led up to you just making this decision to aggregate these alt-nets and to go in that direction.
It probably started in 2015, so about 10 years ago, with the early alt-nets. So GigaClear was one of them, and we had a chat with them right in the early days. And thought that, there's an opportunity, a business that is taking the initiative, building full fibre into rural areas where they really need it. And is there an opportunity for us to become a wholesale customer of GigaClear, it was back then? And the issue that we had is we looked at their footprint, we looked at the amount of effort it would take to integrate, agree a contract, set up service relationships, operational relationships, integration with API. It's a lot of work to integrate with an alt-net, and not only to do the integration, but then maintain that really important relationship week in, week out. And then we looked at, well, what size the footprint and how many customers could we realistically win? And you do the maths and you're like, it doesn't quite stack up. So I guess that was the first touch point.
Yeah.
And then we didn't do anything until probably, I guess, a few years ago when we revisited it and we looked at City Fibre. Obviously, City Fibre's footprint much bigger than that. And so with City Fibre, we were like, actually, this is a good opportunity, and the scale is there. Okay. So let's do a deal.
Right.
And
it did stack
we
up.
did the deal with City Fibre. We onboarded them. It was a big amount of effort. We had a model office project team. We had loads of people involved from all different parts of the business. But then we got them on board, and that was our first step. And then after that, we didn't really do anything for 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
The Alt-Net, I guess, gold rush was on then in the early 2020s. And we saw that there were all these Alt-Nets now building up footprint. They've got this fantastic differentiator, but they are still, they're smaller than City Fibre. So, does it stack up? Does it not stack up? But in the end, and what we saw, I guess, we saw a lot of talk about aggregation. So when I went along to industry events, a lot of the Alt-Nets were talking about, we need to find a way to aggregate. And some of them were building their own aggregation structure and contracts. And then some of the software suppliers are sort of looking at providing an aggregation mechanism. Okay. And it just, I guess we had a bit of a light bulb moment where we thought, look, there's a fantastic opportunity here. There's a lot of talk about aggregation and the need for it, but nobody's really doing it end to end. Well, how about if Zen do it? And so we started having a chat with some of the Alt-Nets. I mean, Truly was the first one. And then we onboarded them. And then it's a bit like anything, getting going sometimes on a business strategy is the most difficult thing, because is this the right thing? Is it not? How's it going to work? And are they big enough? And so we did that deal. But having done that, then we felt much more bullish about the discussions we then had with Freedom Fibre. And then having signed the deal with Freedom Fibre, it then really, we were like, wow. I think it was after Truly and Freedom Fibre that we were like, this is a real opportunity. We could be the UK's Alt-Net aggregator of choice in the channel. Let's
go for it.
Make that the core of our strategy.
Yeah.
So we ended up talking to pretty much all of the Alt-Nets, and with varying levels of interest. But now we've really got traction, and I sort of feel like now it's a bit of a chain reaction that started, because every time we add another Alt-Net, we become more appealing to the Alt-Nets that haven't signed with us, and we become more appealing to partners like Blizzard and partners that are not yet Zen partners, because actually we've got something pretty unique in the market compared with a few years ago where, well, we sell OpenReach and so does a lot of other people. But now we're selling over 400,000 full fibre premises on the Truly network, and nobody else is doing that. It's only Zen. So if you, as a partner, if you want access to that full fibre footprint, there is only one place to go. And I guess to your earlier point, the more Alt-Nets we add, from the partner's point of view, you don't have to do anything. All you just see is these new footprints appearing.
It's a dream for us.
And you can go and sell. And you have this competitive advantage that competition is very limited, because it isn't all your normal competitors that can go after out of business, because they won't have access to that footprint. And so it's a very exciting time now. We've got our latest Alt-Net is MS3, so we've now got access, or we will when we finish the integration, into Hull, which is really interesting. Hull is this very peculiar telecoms
very
island.
Aware of Hull.
So
you can't do Hull.
It's peculiar. So now
we can.
You can do Hull, and we can do Hull through our direct business, and we can do Hull for our channel partners. I mean, on Hull, MS3 cover a lot of Hull. Connexin also covers part of Hull as well. Connexin was acquired by City Fibre at the beginning of this year. And so in the fairly near future, the connecting footprint will be available in the Fibre hub as well. So you'll have 2 routes actually into Hull.
Right.
And as our channel partner, you can then choose for some of those premises where there's an overlap. Well, which commercials do I like best? Well, which service do I like best? Well, actually, if one of my businesses want resilience, I'll have one of each. So lots of options there. So I guess we saw, in summary, we saw that opportunity, and we just got to a point where we're going to go for it. This is going to be the core of our strategy. Let's put all our resource in, and we have put a lot of resource. We've recruited.
Did it feel a bit risky at one point early on, or you're always pretty confident it was going to work?
I think having done this for 30 years now, whenever you make a business decision like that, a strategic decision, there's always an element of risk. Will it work? Will it not work? But it's what makes it exciting, really. And there's a part of it that's gut feel. That you get to this point where almost your gut feel tips over a line between, I'm not quite sure, it feels right, it feels like a great opportunity. And then it's almost like you wake up one day and you're like, no, this is really it. We should really go for this. Obviously, we need to have the discussions internally, get the buy-in from everyone. And that works really well within our exco. Everyone has their voice, and people throughout the business. And we were all like, no, let's give this a go. And then once you're in, you don't really think. I mean, you do reflect on it. How's it going? That when we were in the board sessions, we're reflecting on how's it going. But most of the time, we're just like full on actually doing it.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah. But it feels like the entrepreneurial time of the mid 2000s. So about 20 years ago. Now, when broadband was really on an exponential growth curve in the UK, and we were going from most people in the UK in 2000 didn't use the internet. In 2010, most people did. So it was a real fantastic decade of opportunity. And then in the 2010s, the market matured a bit. So it became more incremental, I think, for the industry as a whole and for Zen. And this decade feels more like it was 20 years ago, where there's loads of opportunity and change. Exciting. So it's a very exciting time. Yeah, I'm loving it.
Brilliant. Great, thank you. And then my other question, obviously, we're dead keen, we already are working with you, and we're keen to work with you with all the different alt-nets that you're bringing on. But I mentioned that what we really enjoy about working with Zen is that the service level is really good. How do you make sure? So first of all, do you have any criteria, requirements for an altnet before you bring them on board? And how do you make sure that you're going to keep up that high level of service level when you're involving all of these different providers?
Yeah, so there are some specific technical requirements that we need to ensure reliability and seamlessness of the service into our partner channels. So as an example, we need, in the network, we need automated failover of links. So networking hardware does fail. So if it does fail, if any of this networking hardware fails, we need a solution where things will fail over automatically. And so the customers see the minimum downtime.
Yeah.
So that's an example of a network resilience criteria. Okay. And we do work with the altnets on that if it's not there.
Right.
Another thing is the API. So typically the APIs of pretty much all the altnets we deal with are incomplete when we sign the agreements with them. And one example is that it's really important in the partner channel that we can send you KCI messages to keep you updated of where your order's up to.
Yeah.
Some of the APIs that we integrate don't have that functionality built in. So we're like, well, if you want to launch into Fibre Hub, you better get it developed.
Yeah.
The service assurance thing is one that is part that we're, again, really keen on, so that we're not creating lots of manual work. If there's a fault, you're having to manually log into a portal or send an email. We want it within the API. So again, what we found with all the Alt-Nets that we deal with it's a true partnership in that Zen is working with the Alt-Net to help them mature their service to a point that it can operate at scale, and importantly operate efficiently at scale, and without loads of people doing manual tasks on both sides. And it's really important that we then deliver that into our partners. So those are the technical requirements. And as I say, even City Fibre, so we integrated with them nationally in 2022. And one comment that was made back then about City Fibre within Zen was they feel like a really big startup, because even though they're such a big company and a big footprint, a lot of the processes were still being refined. So, of course, we work with them. Now the City Fibre service is very mature and refined, but it's taken that time. And going through that journey with these newer Alt-Nets, we're going through similar journeys where we're actually helping the Alt-Net to get to a point where they have a refined and mature wholesale offering that they can offer not just to Zen but to other CPs
so you're actually
as well.
helping them in general.
As well. So it is a true partnership, and so far that is working. That's working very well. And then the other thing on the service, service is really important. So the service relationships we have, the regular reviews that we have, both daily, weekly and monthly at different levels, are really important to make sure that we're on top of any service issues. And so already, we deal with if there's a particular problem with one of the processes or one of the bits of kit, the ONT, whatever it is, that we're on top of it, and we solve it together before it becomes a scale problem. So I guess that's part of the journey.
Well, it sounds like you've put a lot of resource and effort into making sure that all does work smoothly. So it's not going to grind to a horrible halt.
Definitely. Good.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I think that was it for me. Thank you.
Well, Philippa, thank you so much
for
joining me today. Thank you again for being a partner of Zen for 14 years. The very best of luck to Blizzard for your future, and look forward to many years working together.
Absolutely.
So I hope you found that interesting. Thank you very much for watching, and shall see you again soon.